Donald Trump has posted on his Truth Social platform that it was a great decision to deploy the National Guard in Los Angeles, saying the city would have been completely obliterated otherwise. "We made a great decision in sending the National Guard to deal with the violent, instigated riots in California. If we had not done so, Los Angeles would have been completely obliterated. The very incompetent Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass should be saying, 'Thank you, President Trump. You are so wonderful. We would be nothing without you, sir.'" Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will know that Donald Trump's writings are completely false, a propaganda designed to stoke fear and create chaos. A couple of streets downtown have seen this standoff between Trump's National Guard and the LAPD with protesters. But at the end of the day, the whole city has not been overrun. This is not a crisis as described by Donald Trump. It is certainly not worthy of sending in militarized troops to deal with. It's no coincidence that the Golden State is where he is testing his police state-style intervention. This is a power play from the federal government. This is interfering with the very states' rights that Trump has advocated for. Send it to the states. Let the states control their own thing. Small central government, we don't want to interfere. And yet, at the first opportunity, sending in federal troops and turning Los Angeles into a so-called war zone is entirely intentional. This is the power play of the authoritarian. This is what a dictatorship looks like.
Where's your decency, Mr. President? Stop. Rescind this order. It's illegal and unconstitutional. And I said it, I'll say it again, it's immoral. You're creating the conditions that you claim you're solving, and you're not. And you're putting real people's lives at risk. This is a serious moment, and it requires serious leadership. And it's time for you to be a commander-in-chief of the United States of America. And I will have your back if you want to work in a relationship of trust and truth in the spirit of our founding fathers. But you come after poor kids, you come after families, we will do everything in our power to stand up and stand in your way.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has once again urged people to exercise their right to protest peacefully, saying we do not want to play into the Trump administration's hands. She said that Trump's actions in LA had caused fear and panic, and what we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos provoked by the administration deploying federalized troops. It's a dangerous escalation.
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators, they're insurrectionists, they're bad people, they should be in jail. Thank you.
To mobilize the National Guard, Trump invoked Title 10, Section 12406 of the U.S. Code, which allows for the federalization of the National Guard in cases of an invasion or a rebellion, or if the president is unable to execute the country's laws with regular forces. Section 12406, however, also states that orders for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of the states. Gavin Newsom confirmed that he did not request the deployment of the National Guard, making it the first time since 1965 that the National Guard has been activated to a state without a governor's request. In an open letter to Pete Hegseth, Newsom's office called the mobilization a serious breach of state sovereignty and requested that the Pentagon chief immediately rescind the order and return the National Guard to its rightful control by the state of California, to be deployed as appropriate when necessary. The Democratic Governors Association backed Newsom in a statement saying it's important we respect the executive authority of our country's governors to manage their National Guards. The tenets of democracy and constitutional law rely on everybody buying in, from the president down. That's what keeps institutions functioning. But when leaders go rogue, abusing their power, you end up in a police state without due process. And this is where we are. This is their coup. And people now are starting to realize that this is the coup 2.0. The first one was obviously the insurrection on January 6th, but this time the coup is from the inside out. This is a takeover of U.S. institutions, a takeover of governments, but also a takeover of states. And all the protocols of the state's hierarchical authority, such as doing things via governors, are now gone. Trump is ignoring the California Governor Gavin Newsom. He's flexing his federal muscles and rewriting the law as he goes. And this is something we should get used to. This is a MAGA coup that has been planned all along. Go back to the pages of Project 2025 and sending in the National Guards to take control of democratic states is baked in to those pages. But everything that has happened in these recent months is a response to an imaginary crisis. That there is no invasion of immigrants. There is no trade crisis that requires Donald Trump to start trade wars with our allies. There is no crisis of science or research. We're talking about people purposely trying to disrupt the status quo, who care nothing for regular people who rely on public services, or for people around the world who rely on our soft power and USAID. This is a deliberate attempt to crash and burn the United States, or, to coin a phrase, to deconstruct the administrative state. And so California is being used as a testing ground for Trump's authority, and blaming anybody who crosses the border, anybody who lives in California who is of Mexican descent, and making them out to be criminals. And this is the language we've heard from Tom Homan recently, referring to bad guys and bad guys and bad guys, and yet there is no due process. There is no suggestion that any of these people are bad guys, just in the opinion of the white supremacists who believe in their soul that white is good and black or brown is bad. And remember, California was acquired by the United States, and I say acquired in inverted commas, from Mexico after the Mexican-American War. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, signed in 1848, officially ended the war and ceded California along with other territories to the United States in exchange for a mere $15 million. Mexicans are at home in California. But if you apply the Great Replacement theory, as many of Trump's supporters and Trump himself and his surrogates do, the fear of the white man being replaced by the people of color is very real to them. And this is their response, in the same way that this illegal travel ban is Trump's federal response.
But we will not allow people to enter our country who wish to do us harm, and nothing will stop us from keeping America safe.
Banning people from countries that he doesn't like, shithole countries, to coin a phrase of his. And the number of people in ICE detention has grown, and detention facilities are now over capacity. The government is intensifying its hunt for more space, and local police are playing a bigger role. And people who are being held in these facilities are starving in conditions of squalor. This is what it's come to. Aside from Donald Trump renting prison space from other countries, sending immigrants to countries that they have no connection with, the equivalent of concentration camps, internment camps, getting rid of the problem in Trump's eyes by sending it to another country. And let's not forget that many of the law enforcement officers who work for the federal guard or for ICE are themselves radicalized by decades of the same far-right media as Trump supporters. Fox News has been playing on televisions in military bases and gyms and airports for years. The false narrative of brown-skinned immigrants being criminals is baked in. This is what a lot of these people believe. This is why they are happy to carry out these horrific acts.
America is for Americans and Americans only.
And this is also why the Trump regime is pulling back investigating right-wing and white supremacist groups, homegrown terrorists, and why we're seeing neo-Nazi groups seeking to grow within the US with planned paramilitary training events. This base now is emerging from the shadows and ramping up its ranks as the White House turns a blind eye to the far right, because the White House is the far right. And by stoking the flames in places like California, it just gives Donald Trump and far-right media the footage that they need, the visual evidence they need, the image of a Waymo car on fire and people waving Mexican flags. That is all they need to spread their propaganda, to give them even more of an opportunity to expand this police state, to shut places down, to call for martial law, to claim it's a state of emergency when there never was one in the first place. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.